Hi, I'm a higher ed social media manager and I have a confession. Erin Supinka started managing social for Dartmouth College at around the same time I started at MIT. And now she has a team of 4. And I'm very jealous. Welcome to Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager. I'm Li Fowler, award-winning social media professional, author, and podcast host, and a recognized voice across the social media marketing industry. Social media managers are navigating the wild, ever-changing world of higher ed communications, and I'm here to share the real stories and lessons behind the posts. Each episode explores the challenges, strategies, and untold moments that come with running social media accounts in today's digital landscape. Let's get into it. Miss Erin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, so good to see you.
Oh, so great to have you on. Now, Erin, you started out as a team of 1, but you've gradually been able to grow your team to 4 members. How long did that take you to build Dartmouth's social media team?
I started at Dartmouth in 2014, and we brought our second full-time person on board in 2019. And then we quickly brought on our second in the winter of January 2020. So when we expanded our team, we actually went in 2 directions at the same time. We hired a social media manager and we hired a social media producer. We posted one and then the second one was posted shortly after we hired the first. So we expanded quickly.
Amazing. Can you tell us what the difference is between the manager and the producer?
Yes. So this continues to evolve. At the time of it being designed and the industry at that given moment is the social media manager owns the platforms that we engage with and post on and communicate back and forth with. The producer was someone who is responsible for producing content.
Okay.
As the industry has grown increasingly complicated, those roles continue to share a lot of the same responsibilities. We also grew our team by 1 more in the fall of last year. And so including myself, we are now a team of 4. And so all of us share a lot of responsibilities from content creation to engagement, but the initial design is that there is a role that is responsible for content production. The industry just changed a little bit on us over, a few times.
Oh, all the time. Yeah, it's constantly evolving. So let's go back to when you went from 1 to 2, because I feel like that's like the biggest hurdle. How did you convince the powers that be that was a necessary step?
So a few things were at play when this first took shape, and part of it is having a really wonderful leadership team that understood and saw the industry growing. I think a lot of people in the early days thought social was not necessarily going to burn out at some point, but just really didn't lock in on what the potential the industry had.
And how serious is this? How big is this going to be, right? Yeah.
Like, it's still playful. Like, I remember the early jokes being like, oh, you just play on Facebook all day whenever you'd mention I work in social media. Like, I just think about that, how that has changed. The narrative has changed in, like, my conversations around dinner where I explained what they do, and now their response is, oh, that's a lot of work. That's tough.
Yeah. Oh, you're really busy. It's like, yes, thank you.
It's like this like soothing for my previous self. And so that was fantastic. The other bit, and this is so not a glorious answer, or may I say sexy answer, but documentation.
Yeah.
Like documentation continues to be one of the most valuable ways I believe anyone in our industry can spend their time. I think that we typically rely on traditional analytics, which are incredibly powerful for conversations about resources. The piece that when I work with people, I try to anyone that wants to talk to me about growing and advocating for bigger teams, more resources, I'm always happy to chat with. I know, like, all of us are always looking for more.
Awesome.
Is that I find that people aren't documenting what it looks like on themselves. So what are you doing? Are you keeping tabs on the number of links that you're sharing or creating for your channels? Are you keeping tabs of the number of posts that you're not only publishing, but the way that you're engaging in the platform? And this has gotten a little less manual labor over the years as platforms actually enable the opportunities for you to look at how you're engaging. Different scheduling platforms, you can keep tabs on, sent messages, things like that. And so yes, the posts, the way that they perform are incredibly important, but the workload that goes into each of those posts, how are you documenting it? How are you making a case for yourself and your time that goes into these things? I just find oftentimes people don't also apply those analytics in these resource conversations.
So you're documenting how many links you've created, how many messages you've maybe responded to or replied to or sent or commented, because that all takes time. Wow. How are you just keeping, do you have a spreadsheet? Like, what does this look like?
So with the links, yes. So for any link that we push out on the main channels, and it's tied to our UTM tracking. And so these are where we build them to make sure that our campaigns are lined up, to make sure our sources match and things like that. But that is a place where every piece of content that we put out that points to one of the owned sites that we are responsible for some of the traffic, we build those there. And so at any given moment, I look, the other day I looked and we had over 650 links that we've built.
For the year?
For the year to push people to our owned properties. And that's just our own properties. We promote partnership work. We promote media hits, things like that. So that's only a portion of the content that we're building. We're lucky to have a scheduling platform. I don't know if I can say Sprout Social, but
yeah.
We're lucky to have the scheduling platform, Sprout Social, that gives us a lot of the tools to keep track of. But one of the ways that I would do this when I was a team of one was saving the very cool, interesting posts that we had engaged with the moment. So maybe it's not every comment, it's not every share, it's not every engagement, but it was, we had this really wonderful back and forth with student XYZ. Here's what came of that. And so bringing these tangible documented efforts to the table each time was really helpful in the beginning. And it is more work that I do not want to skirt around that at all.
Sure.
It's
really manual to document how much time you're spending on these channels. Yeah,
absolutely. What I think about it is that it adds time to your weekly schedule. Absolutely. But it's an investment for your future team.
Yes. And so you're making the case to grow the team. Yeah.
Yes. And so that time that can always feel challenging to carve out for yourself, but it is such a powerful way to demonstrate what you're doing. One of the things that I also recommend that is kind of fun, it's a good way for me to check myself, is how much time I'm putting into something. I was getting a little back and forth with one of my family members one time where they, early days made a comment about, oh, you just play on Instagram or whatever for your job. And so I said, bet. And I built an Instagram story in front of them that example of, we would post a slide with a link, some Giphy stickers, maybe an engagement tactic. And I walked them through the process of what this looks like. Yeah. I think as soon as they saw me huddled over my phone with my lovely hunched shoulders and having to zoom and type really small, that was enough. But then when we were done and we had checked everything 20 to 30 minutes later, that was, they left that conversation very clear on the fact that it is not simply posting something and walking away and just going about my day.
So a light bulb went off at that moment. I do have a colleague that, she actually recorded her screen of everything that she did that day, the people that were asking for her for things, and sent that to her supervisor. And of course, her supervisor had no idea. So that was another very, very compelling case. But if I might share an example, there was a person in our community, a social media manager, that they were trying to get a Facebook account, I think, back that maybe someone had Yeah. And they don't no longer had the password and the login information too. And that's a beast, right? And you can tell like she was, she consulted me and I was just like, you just have to put in the time. Like you have to like report it to customer service and follow. And you could just tell like her, she had this facial expression of like, oh my God, oh no, like I don't have, I'm like, right. Right. And I said, document everything. Document how many emails you spend. Document how long it takes you to like get a person. Document when they take, like this is going to take you several months to do. And it's going to take you a lot of time. And your supervisor probably doesn't know it. Right. So like, yeah.
100%.
So if it's worth the time, you should get a social media professional. Sorry, I just wanted to add another example. Yeah.
No, I love this because I think you hit on a really important part about that screen recording is that you are doing a lot of the work. Like you're doing this work already. Mm-hmm. If you do, if it is you plopping on a screen recording so that you're helping keep tabs of that or whatever it may be, like you have those moments to capture already. We are content creators by nature. And so there is, I love the screen recording idea. I think that's fantastic. And
yeah, it can be very, very effective.
Yeah.
Right. So can you tell us some of the challenges that you had to overcome when you were making your case? You were documenting what you were doing, trying to go from one to two or from one to several.
Yeah, so the time thing is truly, it's hard to make the case to yourself when you know that you have all of these other pressing things going on, committing to that hour at the end of the day or however the format works for you to go through, look at everything that you've done and make, just kind of a summary. The way that I unlocked that for myself was that, I wanted to be prepared for conversations that popped up because what I think is incredibly valuable is not only having that conversation once, but dropping crumbs in each conversation that you have. So if you're in a meeting about planning a project, you bring up how many posts you created in support of a similar project the previous time, how many posts that you uplifted. So, amplification efforts, just making sure that you're prepared to have that conversation because there is nothing more stressful than whenever someone asks you like, oh, like, can you make this case or what have you been working on? And you have to go and pull together.
Go back.
That's so stressful. And that is so much work. Like that is a ton of work.
And you miss things, to be honest with you.
100%. Yeah. You just, I just think of it in like our holistic approach to our work is if you have the post that you did the last time you had a commencement speaker, last time you like on hand, and you can just quickly look back at what you did previous years, it's so helpful just even from like a personal stress management for me. And interestingly enough, the other thing that I personally struggled with, which actually comes after you add a team member, and it's something that I think is another one of those things that I would spend time up front thinking and processing, is that as a team of one, you have owned this baby, as I refer to my brand, for however many years. And now you're sharing that with someone else, and they have to step in and develop their approach to the tone, their approach to the brand. And it does not matter, in my humble opinion, how many ways you put what a tone is or isn't, what a voice is or isn't for your brand. It's still such a squishy thing that it's really hard. At least I found it challenging to figure out how to navigate. Is this something that it's because it's not the way that I would have done it? Or is this something that I actually think is not quite in line with the brand voice? And so that was such an interesting, I was like, we got resources. And then I started to work with this incredible woman, Breland. She's now at Book Trust. And she's fantastic. And her stuff was great. And it was just these nuances about the brand voice that truly just take time to learn and embrace. Right. And as someone, if you've been solely responsible for the protection of this brand and the curation of this brand in this space, it kind of caught me off guard a little bit about letting someone in.
Sure, you're like you had total control, and you're you're sharing the keys now, and so you have to figure out what that feels like and what that looks like for you. I've heard that when you go from sort of contributor to a managing position, that's a bit of a transition. Yeah, no, that you bring up a really interesting point. But going back on the challenges, other than the fact that it was a time challenge for you, did you have any pushback? I mean, it almost sounds like once you presented the evidence, it was so clear that that it was a strong case and it was heard. But no pushback? Was there pushback?
I think the most challenging part of it, once we had the conversation and we started looking at this, was what shape the position should take in an evolving industry. That was truly and that was on me for research. That's where, the other documentation thing I did was I saved every job description that I saw came up cross industry with these types of roles in mind, because it was such an evolving it's such an evolving industry that it's hard to highlight which resources you needed the most. And so that was an interest, again, one of those challenges that popped up. But no, I think just the ability to point back to how much work it was to do what we were doing already was incredibly influential and
convincing.
Yeah, it was truly wonderful. Which is not something I think a lot of folks have the opportunity to say about social media work in general sometimes, but.
Right. Or, I mean, I think this is, social media managers should take the step to do it. This is what I'm hearing. It's work, but it's worth it if you want to make the case to expand your team. We all need help. It should not be a team of one,
I think the thing that what I always come back to or I think about is that this as a whole is a younger industry. It's, when Facebook was 2007. So yes, we've got some years behind us now, but we're still relatively new in the grander scheme of things. And so we as social media folks can't and should not assume that someone knows the ins and outs of the work that we've been doing.
Never assume. Yeah.
We're only seeing now the first people who maybe got their start or were primarily social media professionals getting into top leadership roles in marketing and communications at all sorts of brands. That glass ceiling is only being broken, and it's new. And so you have people that may understand from a top level that this is a lot of work, but they don't have the inside workings like you do, just simply because it was not a thing that they had to account for as they moved up.
Let's take a quick pause for a word from our sponsor. Southeast Missouri State University needed to launch more targeted campaigns faster, yet they were bogged down by manual campaign builds, slow approvals, and vendor overload. With Element 451, they eliminated 5 vendor tools and gained marketing superpowers in one platform. They saw a 13% increase in applications, processed applications within 2 days, and achieved 33 to 35% email open rates. The impact? Personalized, automated campaigns running at scale without the drag. Ready to turn your next campaign around in hours and not weeks? Try an agent today at element451.com/agents. It's totally true. I think constantly educating is a part of our jobs, at the moment. How do you continue advocating for yourself and your team for additional resources? Because after you got the one, you got several more, which kudos to you. I mean, that's amazing. So how do you continue advocating?
So one of the points that I make across the board with anyone is social media continues to be one of the very few ways that you truly can stumble upon someone. This is so dating myself. I do not know if anyone remembers this, but there used to be a stumbleupon.com that you'd hit a button and it would bring you to a website, like a homepage. That doesn't exist in a website way, an email space. The way that we find our ways into different corners is through social media. And so we're in this battle for screen time and people finding out about us. And also you add now AI into the conversation where they look up an answer. Google doesn't even send them necessarily to a link. So if they would Google, I want to know like an apple pie recipe.
I was thinking recipe too.
It pulls up like 6 options in there. And if you're not, if you are happy with that first little takeaway, you don't even have to go deeper. And so,
but that's AI.
At AI. And so when we continue to be in this evolving digital space where we still are the only way that you can stumble upon a new brand or find something that you hadn't heard of, engage with a school that's totally right up your alley, but you had not found through traditional forms, it's just that continued conversation and reminding folks that this is one of the few most open, accessible doorways to your brand. There's just no, in my humble opinion, as someone who's in the industry, there's just not a whole lot of competition in that realm. It's just, you see that with, Duolingo, you've seen that with other small-time bakeries and diners and things like that. It's just there are so many more brands at our fingertips in the social media world. And if we're not there playing and being impactful and showing up in feeds, people are not coming across our brands as openly as they could be.
I mean, well put. That's really, really eloquently put. And it's important to be human, right? To show that there's a human behind those accounts and not to automate the accounts.
Yes. For one, it was my first time this year that I actually appeared on the account in a very face noticeable way.
Tell me.
It was so scary. Our interns were graduating, and there was that trend at the time where you would say something like, "Oh, I'll see you tomorrow," but you won't see me tomorrow. I'm moving, or I'm starting a new job. And so our director of photography, Katie, and I both had these interns who were both graduating. And so I was like, this is really, Katie and I do not end up in the front of the lens very often. So I was like, let's just try it. We'll see if we like it. It was so challenging, but it reminds people that we are human. And that's actually one of my favorite posts that I've done.
It's really important. I bet it did well. Did it do well?
Yes, it did. It was, yeah, I'm glad that it did well, but I was also like, oh, too many eyeballs on my face.
I mean, yes. Yeah, that's the reality of it. But that's great. I'm actually glad that you took a risk and did that.
Yeah.
Because you've been behind that account since 2014. That's a long
11 years, baby.
I know. So it's about time to see you in some form of content. Okay, so amazing. So you're to advocate, you're constantly educating. Field is constantly growing. So the needs are constantly changing. And is it a less learning curves? Like now that your supervisor, they get it?
Yes,
is that
100%. It's, I think that in this day and age, there have just been so many made and broken moments on social that it's truly unavoidable for folks to see. Even my crew that were early adopters, like even the people that are kicking and screaming their feet, like trying to still ignore social at other places or just in general. I just, you see
how
a brand.
How is that even possible?
I know.
I don't even know. But anyway.
There's just so many moments that have been made or truly like broken because the social wasn't an integral part of someone's communications or marketing plans. And so I think if there has not been a more ripe time to find examples of ways that things go really, really well by being, just by being in the space, and ways to show that it can go really, really wrong if you don't have social as a legitimate contributor and partner and seat at the table part of your communications and marketing strategies.
Priority, professional presence. Mm-hmm. Hey, preach, Erin. So, Erin, how are you measuring and communicating the value of your team? Like maybe in the form, to your supervisor and leadership in general. Do you have a monthly report that you do, or like how are you constantly showing your value?
Yes, so we have a absolute gem, my colleague and friend, Hannah, who does data on a regular basis, and she has set it up so that we have a live dashboard within our data or within Google so that we can see from website and things like that how it's updating. And then we also leverage Sprout in that. So we have a live dashboard that allows us to look really quickly across things,
Yeah.
which again, this is another one of those like setting, it takes time to set it up front, but it is so helpful in the quick moments that you need to just look at how something's done, or, here's how these 6 posts that are related to this thing have performed. And so that's really helpful. I also we always try to highlight the wins, whether that's the ones that you expected or the ones that snuck up on you. I think it's really important to show the range of possibility when it comes to social. And so you can have those really traditional posts that will do well, which, sunsets behind beloved icon on campus, but also, how are you leveraging that in a different way? So, you do this beautiful sunset picture, but then you have a longer form caption that talks a little bit more about something that may not always get someone's finger to stop on the scroll, but you have these beautiful imagery, all the way to things that are designed 100% with social in mind from the campaign creation. So you went into a video shooting with social in the background, not in the background. I'm sorry. I very much mean in the social front first. And center. Yes. Oh no.
I gotcha. Yes.
And so being able to demonstrate this is the range of ways that we can tell the story. And so you can highlight those smaller wins, but then those highlights of the big wins where you really fought hard for representation for something. And so always highlighting the win. And sometimes it's helpful to highlight the things that maybe didn't do so well, but maybe had someone that was pushing it in a certain direction that doesn't have the social experience and things like that. That one's a lot more of a trickier conversation, but also worth keeping tabs on because, it's important. It's an important conversation to have.
It helps your case. Case. Like when there's a professional, creating the content and someone that is not familiar with social creating content, it's different. And I always tell people, highlight this stuff even though they don't ask for it. Even if no one's asking for it, send it to leadership, send it to your supervisor because it's super important to show.
Absolutely. It's the arguing your case in every moment that you have an opening, making whenever someone, again, we're doing a review of a larger campaign initiative, being able to highlight in the room in the moment that, we posted 25 organic posts from our channels completely made by us. Then we uplifted 50 posts from the community and we engaged in this way. And then, when you look at the larger conversation where you have team members who put a lot of work into a lot of different ways, you're in that conversation too. They talk about the stories that they wrote, the videos that they produced. You're also now saying, here's also what I produced.
The social. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think where you have regular meetings or moments of conversation, like if you have a weekly check-in or a morning check-in where you look at what the day looks like don't just stick to what you might be posting that day or what you are directly working on. Point out what your week looks like. I've got so-and-so is editing a video about this. We're also working on our next version of this campaign. So making sure that, you're taking up space that you deserve because your work is taking up quite a lot of space in the content of your brand.
Yeah. Excellently put. That's a great way to put it. So advice, Miss Erin, do you have advice or recommendations for current teams of one that are working on building out a team or, are trying to convince their supervisor that it's necessary?
one, I'm always happy to talk, whether that's strategically or to like commiserate in ways. Again, the advice that I will offer is know your worth. I think it's really challenging sometimes in this
slow clap. Yes, it's like, know your worth. I love it.
It can really feel like sometimes in rooms, both, again, like I said, personally, professionally, like that social is looked at differently and in ways that can sometimes make you feel like what you do isn't serious. And know that while those feelings will absolutely still pop up, that that's not true. Social is so incredibly valuable. You are doing such important work for brands that, you know, are on a regular basis looking for ways to emerge in different target markets, in different conversations, take up space in different areas. And you are truly on the front line of that. And so even on the days that you might be struggling, know deep down that your work and what you do is incredibly valuable, and a brand would not be as powerful without you.
I just feel like I got a nice little pat on the back from you, Erin, like a pick me up. That's lovely. And yes, I might have to save that to listen to again when I'm having not so good of a day. Can I ask you a quick question about Dartmouth lore?
Yeah. Depends which one.
Yeah, I know you're worried now, aren't you? You're like, no, it's actually it's very public. During commencement, doesn't the commencement speaker? It's not a podium. It's like a tree.
It's a stump. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do the speakers speak at like a tree stump?
So it is called the Old Pine Lectern. One of our nicknames is the Lone Pine. That's a reference. We used to have this very tall pine tree in Pine Park, aptly named, that was beloved. It unfortunately fell many years ago, and the Pine Lectern is reminiscent of that.
Okay. That I always wanted to know why the speakers are speaking at a tree stump, but that's really, really cool.
Yes. It's truly beloved.
It's a cool, very unique to Dartmouth thing, you know?
And it's only used for commencement and class day. So that's the only time you'll see it used. Mm-hmm.
That's why I see it when I see, your stuff, and I'm like, oh, there's the tree stump again. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, one last question. Erin, what is your confession that you will share with us? Why are you? Something's very funny. Okay.
It is very funny to me, and I don't know if people think it's funny. My favorite social media platform place right now is Facebook Marketplace.
Yes. You're not the only one. Do you belong to any buy nothing groups?
Yes. Yeah.
Groups. I love those groups.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's just so much commentary on the internet in every format that I consume media. The fact that I can look through just things that are sometimes really cool. I might right now I'm not going to buy an antique pinball machine, but I love that there's weirdly 6 of them within 50 miles of me. That's so weird and cool.
That is so cool. Yeah.
And I'm very much on my trying to own, curate things, not just buy things to fill space. And so it's like my brain refresh. It helps me kind of be creative. You don't have to worry about reading a comment that will upset you, because I've just spent, that in that world for the, 8 to so many hours during the day. It's like this palate cleanse that is currently unmatched in my world.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's so funny that you say that, because I have a friend that's always her buy nothing groups are really sort of crazy, and
they can get wild.
And she'll send
if you're not in a wild Facebook
I know
group, are you even on Facebook?
Right. Yes. She will DM me things like, look what is on my Facebook buy nothing group right now. And I will tell you, it's some adult stuff. And I'm like, I would be embarrassed to put that out there,
It's If I could right now
no shame in your game.
If I could do an academic study of like the Facebook marketplace and like the things that people post and the price, like even just the study of why they price things at what price, like it's entertaining.
Highly entertaining. Erin, I love your confession. I do. I really like that one. It has been so fun, and thank you so much for sharing your experience with us.
Yes, thank you for having me. I just always love talking to you in whatever shape, whether it's Slack, text, email, Zooms, podcast now. You are truly one of the best.
Same, Erin. I'm glad you're in my orbit. Thanks for listening to Confessions of a Higher Ed Social Media Manager. This show is a proud member of the Enrollify network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow, so be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451. The digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.